silky friends. Um, Today is not Sunday, but I wanted to put this video out here for you Delphi lovers. And just FYI, I haven't had sleep in about 4 days. Not enough anyway. So if I look like the Crypt Keeper, rest assured I feel like him too. Last night I was listening to the Evil CJ Concept. I recently discovered his stream, and it's a great place to throw around ideas. Like a lot of great, let me straighten this, a lot of great ideas coming out of this group. So I will leave a link below, um, just so you can join in if you want. I think it's great. All right, but I'm going to try to get through this real quick because I've got to go to work. But yeah, let's talk about what everybody is having to come apart about, and that is the probable cause. Yeah. Okay, and the unspent bullet. Yes, on one hand, I realize that this doesn't look like really strong evidence. In fact, part of the document says that it is subjective. And yes, but here's the thing about the subjective part of that, okay? Subjective to me and subjective to a professional, two different things. It's just like two doctors can look at the same medical case and come up with a different conclusion based on their knowledge and experience. They're still professional opinions. Now, can this be debated in court? Absolutely. And if this is the biggest piece of evidence they have, I think Richard Allen walks free, because I just think it's too debatable. But there's the thing. I do not believe that this is all the evidence. Like, this just has to be what the judge signs off on. I don't think they want us to know. They're trying to keep it under wraps, and as much as they can to make sure that this case doesn't fall apart. Although the bullet is pretty damning evidence, it depends on how they can conclusively say it came from that gun. But I don't think that they have ever suggested that it is the cause of death, which I don't believe it is. This actually came up in the stream last night again, and it is thought that maybe the unspent bullet was Richard Allen pulling, back the gun and, one discharging out, which is what happens. And so it has the gun marks, but not the full, discharge. So yeah, maybe it was used as a scare tactic. Obviously, no one heard gunshots, so the likelihood of that being the cause of death is almost nil. Now, some of the witnesses that have been, questioned and a lot of comments are the muddy and bloody. I was also looking at another video last night that talked about, and this one I'm not really familiar with, so I can't say one way or another, but it's bed crime stories. And what I did find interesting about this video is that she seems to, and a lot of the people commenting seem to be from Delphi, so they certainly know the area. And my take on what she says is that she does not think Richard Allen is guilty. Now, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. But I think that it's important to look at all angles. How many times have I said this? Covering my vintage crimes. A lot of times we misunderstand the whole situation, and either an innocent person, is found guilty, or vice versa. So yes, I think we do need to keep an open mind. All right. But the discussion there was, if the person, the muddy, bloody, witnesses, on the document, it says February 13th of 2022. I hope and pray that that is a typo. I hope and pray that that document is meant for, 2017. Because if somebody has waited this long to come forward and say, oh, by the way, that day I saw this person and this is what they were wearing and they were muddy and bloody, and you waited for 5 years, then I'm honestly going to say, I'm going to call BS on that one. If you knew somebody was murdered and you did not come forward with that information, then I'm going to say it's made up. It's just crap. So I'm thinking that if it is viable evidence, then that was a typo. Now, some of the discussion in this group was that if, because I am not, obviously not familiar with the geography of this town, but they, from the cameras where they saw that this car actually did pass somebody walking, and yes, this is viable. The people from Delphi were saying that if that is true, then they would have seen Richard Allen. The cameras would have caught Richard Allen walking by. And if he passed the cameras, then they would have known a whole lot sooner. They should have been able to tell exactly who that was. Um, so, I have a big question. When did this actually happen? And that did make me think twice, okay? And, muddy, bloody. Here's the big thing. I think that is subjective. Like when you say, I need more details. Like, was there a little blood? Where was the blood at? Where could you tell? Was it on his jacket? Was it on his pants? Was it on his face? Because they also said it looked like he had been in a fight. So if I see somebody walking around, first of all, they're doing a search and I don't know who this person is, and I see somebody who's maybe got scratches on their face, they've got a little bit of blood here, they're muddy, I might think they were just out in the woods and water helping look for Libby and Abby. So would that set off alarm bells? Not necessarily, depending. Now, if they were covered and it was obvious, red stuff, like first of all, I can't imagine that it was because more people would have seen him. But this is some of the contention, and for this reason, um, I would suggest that if you want to get a different perspective, that you check out Bed Crime Stories. I have, like I said, no idea who this person is. Have never talked to them, but I did find it interesting. Also, I want to let you know about Justice Served Daily. I'm going to leave a link below for that for some good information. Now, also, the police have suggested what I have said all along. I do not, and I never have believed that this was just one person in this area who had the intent and purpose of committing murder. Okay? I just don't. And so it makes me wonder now that we've got the gun as probable cause. They said Kegan Kline told the police that if they looked in the river, they would find a phone and a gun. Now, possibly, and this is just if, Richard Allen and Kegan Kline are in this together along with other people, Richard Allen may have said, hey, I got rid of the gun that was there. And that could have been a complete lie because, as we know, killers like to keep souvenirs. So, that's iffy, but to me, that the fact that they most likely were not killed by gun and he has one, Kegan Kline says, hey, there's a gun, you'll find it, blah, blah, blah. To me, it makes them look more in collusion, but that's just my opinion. I hope that you like to keep an open mind, though. I think we want Richard Allen to be guilty. And here's the reason, because we don't know Richard Allen, okay? He's not my neighbor. He's not my friend. Wouldn't know him from Adam's house cat if he wasn't all over social media. But our sense of justice wants us to put this in a box and wrap it up and have closure. Because this case has been going on for so long. We need that, okay? So, in our efforts to find the perpetrator, I hope we don't get tunnel vision. And honestly, I personally think that he's involved. But again, that's just my opinion. My opinion should not send a man to jail. and I want to see some cold hard facts, which I do believe we will have, but that's the reason that I feel like we really should listen to other points of view. Other people. They could be right or wrong, so could I. So let's not put the lid on this just yet. Now, my big question is, I went back and I wanted to see what the profilers said before Richard Allen was a suspect. What were they saying about who they were looking for? And I find it kind of interesting. Now, I'm going to read this off to you, and I really liked this one. This is from former FBI Special Agent John Douglas. He says, and this really resonated with me. He says that specifically the use of the word guys might hold a vital clue. Guys says to me, this is in quotes, guys says to me that maybe he may know these victims, or it's a person, someone who has interaction with children. Now, he also thinks that the person most likely has some kind of criminal history, which, again, like so many people have said, and like I have thought as well, you don't just wake up one day and do this. It's a progression of some kind. Not saying that he has ever committed this kind of crime before, but, we'll get into that. Now, what I found disturbing is an interview, and this was in a publication of where the bar owner, where Richard Allen used to hang out, says something to the effect of, this subject, of course it's a small town, the murders did come up in conversation frequently, but he says we didn't talk about it that much because we knew the families. Listen to this. We knew the families and were friends with them. That is very disturbing. If the Allens knew the families, okay, you might not know their daughters. I mean, if you do, it would have to be because of a close relationship, teacher, whatever. We don't expect you to know the kids, but you know who they belong to. And being that he worked at CVS, think how many kids have come up in there, over the years, because everybody is going to get sick. Everybody's going to have a prescription. You're going to be with your parents or whatever in the store. Maybe you're just looking for something. CVS has a lot of different things. So there's a ton of reasons why you would be in that store. And honestly, it made a great stalking ground, so to speak, because it was such a diverse place, but yet something very needed. So I think about that. How many people, if R.A. is guilty, how many people was he kind of scoping out there for years? Now, so I think this definitely gives him opportunity. Here is another profile. Again, this is done before R.A. was arrested. He had a secret life. He knew the area. He was comfortable with handling bodies, which that is kind of weird. Whether that means he's done this before or in some capacity he fantasized in such detail, he certainly believed no one was going to find him while he was in the act. That means he really scoped out the area to find a place he thought would be protected. Now, I would say 100% this fits R.A. He was a hiker. You can see from all the Facebook stuff that Kathy Allen posted, they were big into that. So if he was familiar with the bridge, we know that he was. His daughter's picture was taken up there prior to, this incident. He knew the area. And, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a woodsy type of, hiker person. But, the thing that he would have to know is the area. Where could you be in this area where there are so many people where you would not be seen committing such a crime? Even if murder was not the end result. Maybe it was a different crime that he had in mind. Maybe it was abduction. Maybe, I don't know. But you would have to have a safe place to do that. So do I think, based on what we know about him, that he fits this part of the profile? Absolutely. Now, this also says he might be narcissistic. He might have that feeling of immunity that I'm too smart for this. Well, he did go to police, and I think that if you're going to even consider committing this type of crime, you have to have a bit of narcissism. That's just my opinion, but yeah, I think that has been suggested a lot before. Now, this is a different profiler, and here is the thing. It somewhat, in my opinion, fits RA, but listen to it because I think it describes somebody else much better. Okay, it says, it basically says that this perpetrator has a disorganized typology. We can speculate that he has a low IQ, has an impulsive personality, is odd and socially awkward, most likely lives near the location of the crime, is is intimately, understand what I mean? Wink, wink. Incompetent, is highly introverted, made rituals of the bodies after, possibly has father or mother whose work was unstable, lives alone, was harshly disciplined as a child, and is in an unskilled field of work. Okay, now part of that, as far as I know, does not describe RA. And again, profilers give you a good idea, but it doesn't mean it's going to be exact. But here is the thing, living near the location, being odd, socially awkward, impulsivity. I think that actually follows along with RA, in that all of the people that knew him said he loved to jump scare people. To me, that's an impulsive act. Whether you mean it in good fun or whether it just gives you a rush. Certainly I have done that myself. Not a lot. It has to be somebody I really know well, but if you're just jump scaring people and you want to see that, that's kind of an impulsive act to me. So, and again, in my opinion, from what I have learned on this case, I just don't know that the death was the end result. It could have been, it's been suggested about those films, obviously, that nobody wants to talk about. Could it have been that? I guess it could have been. If you're involved in a CP ring, it could be anything. But yeah, I don't know that. That's just my opinion. I don't know that RA thought that was going to happen. But again, what does my opinion mean? From research on child murders, we can speculate multiple traits of the killer. Again, low cognitive functioning, history of mental illness. Now, that doesn't have to mean a sociopath. That can mean mental illness can be a lot of things. Bipolar, it can be borderline personality disorder, it can be depression. All these qualify as mental illness, so it doesn't say it has to be really, really bizarre. Is aged 19 to 42, They think that he has previous SA charges, and most likely this happened out of opportunity because he lived in the area. And, you know, that is absolutely, you know, in my opinion, that's right on the money. Now, if you remember, this is a quote from Doug Carter. In his message to the killer, he stated, "We know this is about power to you," in reference to his motivation. This suggests that they know of a power-oriented typology. If he is power-oriented, it suggests his victims fit a type, are strangers, but were stalked beforehand. Okay, and that whether that was online or whether that was in person, but it says that this mix can be contradictory, which, you know, I think here we are again. But yeah, I think that actually, if you want to talk about profiling, a lot of that, in my opinion, fits Kegan Kline much better than it does Richard Allen. I still am not convinced that they're not somehow in this together. And even if, I think the biggest thing for me was Kegan's online search of the Marathon gas station. Like, if you are not planning to go there, why'd you look that up? I'm going to tell you, I search a lot of things. I don't search gas stations in the middle of nowhere in a town I have no plans of going to. I mean, do you? Because maybe I'm just the oddball here. But honestly, I think for me, if I was on the jury, that would be the biggest thing for me is, yeah, you searched that gas station. That is, you know, why. And on that day, okay, you didn't do it 2 years ago. You didn't do it a year, you know, in the future. You did it that day. So yeah, and you know, don't get me started on that video and that tape not working. Like, I don't know. To me, that's sketchy. I mean, they could have erased it before, you know, just taped over it before they realized it was going to be important, and they just don't want to say, you know, it's embarrassing. But whatever, it's something sketchy there. Now, the last thing I was looking at today is about this, why it took so long for them to even look back at RA. And I was listening to a report today that said it was a FBI employee that actually mislabeled the whole thing, saying, that's my stomach grumbling, I'm sorry, I haven't eaten in, I don't know, since sometime yesterday. But yeah, saying that, I don't know if it was a he or she, but they mislabeled this whole case file in the very beginning, so that when you pulled up all the documents related to this case, he didn't even come up. I mean, like, that is, I mean, look, we can all make mistakes, you know, but if you made any mistake, that was the wrong one. So they're saying that's why they had to pull everything, and then they found this after so long when they go back to the beginning and realize, oh, this should have been here. I mean, yeah, if this is true and accurate, then if they had had this information from the very beginning in their whole case file when they were studying it, it should have led right to Richard Allen. Being that he said he was there, they should have at least looked more deeply. So I don't know, what do you think? Again, I'm going to link below some of the places that I have been looking at. Of course, as always, Ken Mains is absolutely fantastic. It's called Unsolved No More, is his channel. But yeah, if you want a great discussion and really some good ideas, not just on Delphi, but on, you know, the Moscow murders and other ones, then I really suggest that You go and check out the Evil CJ concept. He streams nightly and sometimes during the day. So yeah, go check him out and comment below. Tell me, what do you think based on, this is just opinion, okay? Based on the probable cause and what you know about Richard Allen, do you think that this is enough evidence? Do you think he's guilty, or do you think that this makes it look even more sketchy? You know, I want to see all of it come out, all the info. But yeah, let me know, and I will see you next time. Sunday, we're going to be doing the Wineville chicken coop murders on my regular videos of my vintage crime. So check that out, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.